Hello and welcome back to Redefine Entertainment. Today I've got the MSI Stealth 15M. Its keyboard is in need a bit of repair, so let's fix that with this one. So one of the very first things we want to do in troubleshooting this laptop before we go on with a full replacement is to verify that the problem is here. The thing is, we can obviously see this keyboard's worn down, so we might want to replace it anyway, just for that. And here it's that the W and the E keys don't really work consistently anymore, if at all. So we can try here pressing T. That works just fine. Backspace. R, just fine. And then we get to E. No. E. Oh, there it pressed twice. That's not really good. Let's try again. E. Okay, we got it. That one didn't go. Press again. That one went. Again. Nope. Again. Nope. Again. Nope. So yeah, there's certainly some intermittent issues here with the E key. Now let's move on to the W. We'll backspace all this out. Let's press W. No. W. No. No. Nope. 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 Really hard. Man, we're not getting the W key at all. So that does seem to be a pretty big issue, especially with a lot of games these days using your WASD keys. It's probably why this one was worn down. So let's just make sure Q works, W still no, E no. Rest of the keyboard seems to work pretty good. So now let's take this apart and get this keyboard replaced. Before this laptop here, we're going to want our screwdriver set, and we're going to take out all these screws in the back. The other things that you want for this repair in specific is going to be the replacement keyboard. You can also get probably a whole replacement top tray. This will require some melting, which is where our soldering iron comes in here. You'll want a tip that you don't really care about because you're going to be melting plastic with it, which is also not really good for you, so make sure to do it in a more ventilated area like this. We've got some fans going and everything, so hopefully we should be okay, but make sure to not breathe in all of those fumes. So let's get started with the teardown here. Firstly, we're going to see that there's all these screws on the back, including this factory seal. It still hasn't been removed yet, which we're probably quite a bit past its warranty, and technically something about warranties and seals not being valid. They have to prove that you did the fault, but breaking the seal can make warranty stuff a bit harder to get serviced. But we don't care about that right now because we're the ones doing the work, and hopefully we'll be doing it all correctly and get the machine into working order as soon as possible. So let's start with removing all of these screws. So now that we've removed those 13 screws, we should be able to take this back cover off. So let's start by making sure all of the stuff is out of our ports, because things that are in our USBs, like a mouse dongle, can prevent us from taking the back off, but it looks like we should all be good. One thing we might want to watch out for, depending on how this comes apart, is this headphone jack over here. So I'm going to start over at this end, prying with my nails, and we'll get some other things in here. Want to see right where this laptop comes apart. There we go, sorry about that. So I just got under here and started pulling this up, releasing the clips around the side, the front, this other side, and now slowly undoing the back, and I pushed it away this way. Now we can see inside here they've got some, I don't know, what is this? Can't actually tell what this is. But anyway, what we want to do is set that off to the side, out of the way, just like over here. Make sure we know where it goes. So in here, we can easily see our M.2 and the a little bit dusty board back here, but they actually have this covering over the entire board, which hopefully shouldn't be too bad, as I think the connectors that we need to get to should be all accessible. This will need to come out in order to get down to the keyboard replacement part. That's one of the sad problems of laptops that's designed like this, where the back comes off instead of the keyboard assembly comes off. So the first thing we'll want to do, of course, when working with any computer is to disconnect its battery. This battery actually seems to be a kind of small one, being only 52.4 watt hours. There we go. So all it was is a pin style. You pull the connector this way, and now the battery is disconnected. Now we want to go through and remove anything else from here. So let's start with getting this M.2 SSD off of this board, because sadly almost all this will need to come out. And let's make sure to keep things in order. This is our M.2 screw, which actually can go right back in from where it came from after we remove the M.2 out of the laptop. This is just one way to make sure that we know where everything goes back, because otherwise things can get lost. Yes, I can have a much better system of labeling stuff, and that would also probably help. But one of the best things is just put things back where they came from. Of course, that's not always possible, like all these screws that came out of the back. Thankfully, they look to be all the exact same, but I did lay them out in the pattern that they came out of the machine. So let's get the battery out of here as well, because that's one of our more dangerous things. So we'll remove this screw, set it right there for right now. We've also got this screw over here. And then it looks like our battery might be able to just come out. I think there actually might be one more screw here that I see. Yep, there's one more hiding right underneath here. So now once we remove these 3 screws, what we can do is remove this battery up like this and pull it back. And now we have one of the most volatile things of this system out. Because batteries, lithium-ion batteries especially, they can get punctured and they can explode and create fire. I mean, we all have heard of this stuff from, what was that, the Samsung Note 7. But normally in operation, you have nothing to worry about. Batteries have been really well designed lately. But it's just one thing to keep in mind, to keep this out of the way while you're working, especially when we're going to be working with heat later to melt some of this plastic. So let's continue on. We want to remove some more of these ribbon cables. This one here has a little tab from the back that pulls up, and then the ribbon cable can be pulled out. Same with this one. It's got the little tab in the back, just up just a little bit. These little things can be finicky, so make sure to take your time and don't pressure them, because they should be quite easy to undo and have the little ribbon cable be pulled out. Same with this big one. We have to move back some of this plastic shielding here, and then tab up, and that. Look at that. Easy as that. That's some of the things that we've seen in the repair industry here, is where things like that, just simple little stuff, destroyed with too much force. Those locking tabs do not have a lot of force behind them at all. They just are trying there to squish the little pins onto those ribbon cables. So now that we've got all those out, we want to look around for more things like the speaker plug-in here. This is another thing where you want to be really careful, because the plug-in here looks super easy to just take out, but this one actually will be a little bit harder. Like the battery connector on this one, it's actually probably pins that come out and has to be pulled out. So what we want to make sure to do is when we grab this, we don't want to pull on the actual connector part on the motherboard. Only the part here, and also if you pull it by the wires, you might pull the wires back out. So they are delicate. You just have to make sure to take your time. And if you get like this is too much for you, make sure take pictures, come back to it later. I know you're like, oh, but then I won't remember what I've done and how to put it back together. Take pictures as you go, and then you'll be able to easily put it back together and do it while you're calm. Because I've done some things while I was upset with the laptop, and some webcams didn't work, and it's not a good time. So just make sure to come back when you're done. Anyway, on to more of taking this actual laptop apart as we need to. Let's get this out here. So we should be able to come in here, just grabbing on to the connector portion and pulling backwards. speakers are disconnected. Next thing we'll want to do is, here's the cable that comes down for our wireless antennas. We'll pull this captain tape back, they call it. And then these antennas can just be popped up. The next one popped up. Very little force as well should be on those. And we'll take that out as well. So that way we get our Wi-Fi module out. And as before, I have these sitting here, so before I forget where they go again, let's make sure to put them back in just the same as I'm doing with this Wi-Fi module. So the final few things are to undo this ribbon cable here by peeling this cover back. That is the LCD connector for the top screen. And then we got to peel these out. And then there are two more screws that we have to undo. This one right over here. And then there's only one more. I couldn't believe it. There's only this one right over here. And then this whole motherboard should be able to just be lifted out. And then hopefully give us access to where the keyboard is. So all we have to do is take this gently here, give it a little wiggle wiggle, and then there we go. This whole motherboard comes right out. And we can see we do have replaceable RAM, but to get to this point is, well, a little challenging, but actually it's not too much. I mean, there's only two screws holding it in. I just don't get why it had to be on the underside. But here's our processor, here's our GPU, with all of our fine, beautiful heat sinks here, and our fins. This will be cleaned out a little bit later, and then we'll put it all back in after we do our repair. So let's set this off to the side back here, and then we have to get down underneath all this shielding here and all of this well, plastic rivets. So let's move you in closer, and we'll start trying to get this out. It's going to be a pain, but hey, when it's much cheaper to get just this part of the keyboard, we've got to do it. And we need to get some of this out of the way. First thing we're going to have to do is peel all this back. It's going to have to go back in later, but the problem is it's going to be in the way for all these plastic rivets of the keyboard underneath. So sadly, it has got to be pulled up. So let's just take a nice peel at it. Hopefully some of this will be able to go back down nice enough-ish. But we're going to have to get this out of here. One thing, make sure to get your ribbon cables out of there before we rip this all up on it. There we go. So, this is obviously not going to look amazing again when we put it back on, but it's just a plastic shield to prevent this from shorting onto the back of the motherboard. So, now what we'll want to do is move some of our other stuff that is in the way out of the way. Let's start with taking this trackpad out. We don't really need to, but it's better to just get things out of the way than having to deal with them while they're there. So there's our wonderful trackpad. Now we're going to move it over here. And then let's get to work on removing this keyboard. So the only thing left is this tape covering some of the speaker stuff here. We've got tweezers to get some of this aluminum tape undone. This is for grounding. So it's not super important, but if we can save it mostly, like that I just ripped, we'll want to try to. So let's see what else we've got over here. So now that we've got most of our stuff out of the way, we'll want to keep some tools here, like tweezers, maybe some pry tools. This way we can get underneath this and pull it up while we're melting stuff. So here I've got our iron, nice, hot, and ready. So what we'll want to do is start at a corner and pull these up. As well, let's make sure to keep this out of the way and watch out for this, because remember, this is going to be hot. If you touched on anything, plastic over here, it will melt it. Make sure to keep it out of the way of cables, because that's going to be a no good. So I'm going to start with my smaller pry tool here. You might want to get some plastic ones or something else. As well, let's take a smaller version of it. Where's that at? So this is just so we can get underneath it better, especially here to start, because we're going to have to melt that. See? And pull it through. So now that should be ready to go. This one there, that's ready to go. And we'll want to make sure to have some stuff to clean it off, because as I said, this is plastic, it's no good. Make sure there's well ventilation around. And now I'm going to get going to this, and we'll do a speed lapse, or wow, time lapse. And if anything noteworthy comes up, I'll slow down and tell you about it. And there we go. This metal shield that we need to save has now been removed successfully from this thing here. So one of the tips that I have is, as you're going along with this, like I think go from one edge to the other, as you kind of saw me do there at the end. I was kind of going pretty quick, going back and forth down while slowly just pulling this up. And that's how I was able to get it off so quickly there. So the thing is, I got some goop on here, so we want to clean that off. Now we're all good, and now we want to see how this is attached, if there's anything left holding this on. Most of the stuff that we should have taken off should have been melted before, but maybe some of it's still too big because the holes are a little bit smaller. So we'll just want to make sure to get those. And there, we should slowly have this keyboard off. There we go. The keyboard's off, and as we can tell, it has been quite used. Let's clean our thing off a little once more here, because we'll need it again to get everything back on. But here's the old one. Quite dirty, but it looks almost the exact same as our new one here. We'll just want to clean this out a little bit. So let me go do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so here I've got the new one already, and this all cleaned off pretty good. There's a lot of junk in here, and don't blame them. Anyone would have this amount of crap in their keyboard. It just happens. Like, even if you try to clean it off the best, it's going to happen over time. With how much this laptop has been used, it's totally expected. So what we're going to want to do is take our new keyboard here, so we can see it is the new one, the different logo. Here's our old one, still a bit worn, a bit junky here, but again, as I said, to be expected. So what we'll want to do to start is flip this over, aligning all of these pegs up and through it. We'll want to make sure that all of these get in properly. And it might take a little bit persuading, because some of them might be a little too big and whatever. We'll have to apply some pressure from the front and put some more things through later when we're melting. And line it up properly again. Remember, we had these two cutouts up here near this side. And I want to get this around. Make sure to keep our ribbon cables on this side of the metal plating. So now that we've got everything warmed up and ready to go, let's get melting. This is probably going to go to a time lapse again while I do it, and we'll stop if we have any good things to share. While this doesn't look obviously as near as nice as it did before, this will function and it should be pretty stable. We can put pressure against the keys back here and it's not coming undone. You can see our keyboard here, all of our nice brand new keys. So now let's work on getting some of this back together. First thing we're going to do up close here is put this back on. We need to find out where a bunch of this stuff lines up with. So we want to line up some of the major holes, like there, 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 these guys going up there. Make sure our ribbon cables are set this way so they're not stuck underneath. Line up the holes over there, and over here, and stick this mostly back down as we can. So there we go. Now let's take some of our tweezers from before, getting some of this stuff to stick on top. Yep, that's done. First thing we want to do is get our trackpad back in. That is after cleaning it out slightly. So I want to take our trackpad, and it's going to go underneath here a little bit. And underneath there a little bit. We want to make sure to get it on under that cable. And right there. I should have that back. We'll want to put the 3 screws that came off of this back in. The 3 screws are back in. These are back in. Now we want to, I think, undo. This was our tape here for conductive tape. So we just want to stick that back on there. Get that there. Put these 2 up and out of the way so we can bring in our main motherboard. This also, as you can see, has been cleaned off. So we'll be able to just turn this back over. Wiggle it in starting with one side. Make sure all of our ribbon cables are out of the way. Get this other side. Let's actually start here too. Want to align those properly. We'll have to align them on both sides. There we go. Now we've made sure that that's in. Give it a little wiggle. See that it's down. And then we can start with putting our 2 screws back because these will be in the way. So one will go right here. The other screw is going to go right here. And we'll just snake this back down in. Lightly, we'll want to put this back into the connector and then flip it down. It's very light. And stick this back down to here, and there we go. Same with over here. I want to take these 2, make sure they're cable managed nicely. So this actually gets peeled up a little bit. They go underneath there. They go under there. And they go under there. So now these 2 are here. We'll want to take our Wi-Fi card, put it into the slot, get our tape out of the way. Want to take our screw out of here, put this down and in. Then this screw should be able to go back into the Wi-Fi card. And these are thankfully color-coded for us, so we can see that the white should go right over here. They press down. The black should go onto that one, black, white. And then we just tuck these back here, underneath there. And now we can go to our other things that need to get plugged in, like our trackpad connector here. All we do is lightly push it in, after aligning it properly, that is. And that tab goes down. Let's make sure to get this folded over and into the laptop. There we go. This one is empty, if we remember. This one, for the new keyboard that we just installed, it's put in gently, something like that, to the line. Remove this out of the way, and we should be able to just push that down. Ever so slightly. Like that, underneath there. We take our speaker cable, push that back in, and now we should have just a few things left to put in back here. Let's connect the M.2 SSD first, pushing that in, taking our screw out, and putting it down. Now we should be able to take our battery. We put this back down, as we can see. It should slide onto that pin there, onto that pin there. Now the battery's back in. We take its connector here. We align it with the pins on the board. Make sure it's flat. While we push it back in. Make sure that is pushed down, hidden down there. And we should be ready to put the back of this on. So all we have to do is take our back, put it on here, align it up, get the back top up here aligned first, as we can see. I want to line it up with all those clips that are here, like that. And then, as we do, we take this, push along around the outside, snapping all the snaps back in, and now we just have these screws left to put in. And there we go. It's all back together. Let's test and see that it works. So now we've replaced the keyboard on this MSI Stealth 15M, but now we have to check if it actually works. We just got it all together. Now let's boot it up for the first time. It's a good sight. We have the backlight. We have backlight here. The thing is turning on. So now we want to go over here and check that those buttons do work. So let's hit Q. Works. Okay. W works. E works. R works. T. U. E again. W again. W, 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 W. Yes, we have fixed the problem here. We've made it look nicer, and it looks like it all works. Of course, I want to do a full keyboard check before handing it back, but that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed and you learned something about how to repair your own device. Remember, this doesn't just apply to this specific device, but you can take some of the things you learned here and apply it to other laptops to fix as well. Let's keep things out of the landfill, and I'll see you next time. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to follow us on social media and check out our website. The link's in the description below. And if you liked, please hit that button. If you disliked, you know where that button is. And be sure to get subscribed.